You're watching Reality Check. In the middle of a sharply declining economy came the news that the Adani Group has acquired control of Mumbai International Airport from the Hyderabad-based cash-strapped GVK Group. The acquisition will also give Adani control of the Navi Mumbai Airport, making them the second largest private operator of airports in India. In February 2019, remember, the Adani Group had won bids to operate, manage and develop 6 airports: Ahmedabad, Lucknow, Mangaluru, Jaipur, Guwahati and Thiruvananthapuram. The acquisition of the Mumbai airport, the second busiest airport in India, will be a jewel in the Adani airport crown. Now, GVK's decision to sell to Adani is being seen as a reversal of their earlier position. When in January 2019, Adani had attempted to buy a stake in the South Africa-based minority partners of the Mumbai airport, GVK took legal recourse to block the sale, even receiving a favourable order in early 2020. Moreover, by late 2019, GVK had entered into an agreement to sell its stake in the Mumbai airport to a consortium of the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, Canada's Public Sector Pension Fund and the Indian government-backed National Investment and Infrastructure Fund. But in August of this year, they've sold to Adani. In an interview to Economic Times on why they pulled out of that consortium, Sanjay Reddy, vice chairman of the GVK Group, said, "We worked with the investors for over 18 months. Unfortunately, due to the multiple recent developments, the transaction with the investors was not possible." This is what Sanjay Reddy said. In a piece out this week, Reuters reported that before announcing the termination of the deal with the consortium, the frustrated investors, this is the Abu Dhabi consortium, even wrote to the Prime Minister Narendra Modi government to plead for a fair and transparent process as Adani was preparing to swoop in. Now, starting in June this year, the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate began to register cases against GVK, with the homes and offices of GVK promoters being raided by agencies on charges of cheating and forgery for alleged irregularities worth over 700 crores. Charges of money laundering as well. Now, Sanjay Reddy of GVK told the Economic Times that the sudden decision to pull out of the deal with the Abu Dhabi-led consortium and sell to Adani had nothing to do with the raids. Other questions remain though. As per reports, Adani was supposed to take over 3 of the 6 airports, Ahmedabad, Lucknow and Mangaluru, by August the 12th. But in March 2020, according to reports, Adani told the Airports Authority that they needed more time, citing the COVID pandemic's adverse impact on the aviation sector, and that they sought time until February of next year. And yet, it was able to make a successful bid for the Mumbai airport, even as it's struggling to acquire fully and operate the earlier airports. Moreover, GVK, in its statement explaining the Adani takeover, had said that the aviation industry has been severely impacted by COVID, setting it back by many years, and that's impacted the financials of the Mumbai International Airport, which raises the question as how to the Adani Group, a new entrant to the airport sector, will be able to overcome the same challenges posed by the pandemic and run the airport successfully. Also, while GVK is severely debt-strapped with reported debt of over 13,000 crores as of March 2019, the debt on Adani's books is not any less significant. The consolidated financial statements for Adani Enterprises Limited, the holding company for the airport acquisitions, show that they posted a net debt of rupees 9,000 crores in financial year 20. The Adani Group, according to media reports, has debts of over 1 lakh crore. It's unclear then how Adani will be able to take over the debts of GVK. Reports in today's Economic Times suggest that they might be raising as much as $1 billion by selling equity. Now, we sent detailed questionnaires to Adani and GVK raising some of these questions. The Adani Group simply shared their earlier press release, which said, and this is just a gist of it, that the Adani Airport Holdings intends to infuse funds into the Mumbai airport to ensure that it receives much needed liquidity. GVK too said that we regret we would not be able to add anything beyond what has already been stated in our release. The terms of cooperation, they said in their release, is that the acquisition of debt by Adani from various GVK lenders and will release GVK of various obligations, securities and corporate guarantees given in respect of debt to be acquired by Adani. All right, joining us tonight on Reality Check, we have with us Gurcharan Das, author and former CEO of Procter & Gamble India, Sunil Alag, independent business consultant, Parvez Damania, former executive director, Kingfisher Airlines, Lloyd Matthias, business strategist and former VP, PepsiCo. Thanks very much all of you for being on the show. Lloyd Matthias, if I can start with you, what do you make of this? Interesting that you have a situation where you have an economic downturn, yet you have these big acquisitions taking place by the Adani Group, which, as we pointed out, has still not been able to operationalize its earlier airport acquisitions and has now gone and picked up, in a sense, one of the jewels of Indian aviation, the Mumbai airport.
Thanks, Srinivasan. I think the key advantage in the first sense is, I guess, Adani has a larger play in terms of trying to be the largest airport operator in India. But purely in the context of passenger benefit, I think the growth in air travel that is going to happen requires improvements in infrastructure that governments can't afford. Right. And therefore, the greater efficiency and the more use of automation that privatization brings is a positive development, right? So no loss of taxpayers' money, increased revenues into the exchequer.
Right.
Now, the politics of the move, notwithstanding of Adani taking over the GVK stake, aside from that, I think privatization truly has helped improve consumer services. You know, ask any traveler who's been to Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Hyderabad airports, that the quality of services and the quality of the standard of services are vastly better than any of the airports operated by the AAI. Right. Secondly, again, just to look at the PSUs like AAI as an employment generation avenue is a little short-sighted. Going forward, India will need to privatize more airports just to improve standards and just given the fact that there is bound to be a growth in the aviation sector.
Okay, so you're saying that this is something which is largely going to work out. But Gurcharan Das, the thing is, as you know, that in India, there's no transaction, no deal which doesn't come with a question of the politics and the context to it. And as I was pointing out in my introduction, that this is the chronology which many people have raised, that on one hand you have GVK, which is trying to avoid selling to Adani. It's actually gone to court against an attempt by Adani as what they saw as a hostile takeover. Then suddenly you have the raids, and then you find within 2 months they've sold to Adani.
Well, you know, the issue here is not two conglomerates fighting with each other. I think the issue that was behind your question and the elephant in the room is really what will serve the consumer interest best in the long term. Capitalism depends on competition, but capitalism also is prone to crony capitalism. Therefore, the question I think in everyone's mind is Adani going to become such a dominant player in the future that actually you may end up with a monopolistic type of situation? And it's a rightful concern that we all have. And the issue really comes down to how do you regulate a natural monopoly? An airport is a natural monopoly. And I agree completely with the previous speaker that the government of India has so far been that monopoly and has really run the airports in a very second-rate, third-rate manner.
Right.
So it is very important for the government to focus on governance, on law and courts and law and order and all those things. So you can either regulate a natural monopoly through a regulator. Now, in this case, you do have a regulator in the case of airports. But we have seen too many examples of regulatory capture, such as in the power sector. So a regulator does not guarantee you that you will serve the common good. A second way to regulate a natural monopoly is through contracts. That you initially, when you make the contract, when you make the bid and you hand out the auction or whatever, you lay out basis for tariff determination, etc., so that you're protecting the common good. And of course, in this case, what you're doing is one company is passing over the contract to another company from GVK to Adani. So this you cannot control through contract. A third, and that's where I think the future, how to protect the consumer is through policy. What we need actually is a policy which will give us all comfort, that would specify that one entity, one company cannot own more than so many number of airports. Now they've got Bombay. Now they can't have more than one more metro. They can have maybe 5 more small airports,
but not another big metro. Okay, let me take that to.
Now I just wanted to.
Can I? Gurcharan Das, I'll come back to you. I must rotate strike. I will definitely come back to you. Is that the concern here, Sunil Alagh, that when you get into this situation where it largely becomes a monopoly, or as we're seeing even in telecom and other sectors, a duopoly, that is something which ultimately may not serve the public good?
No, like we've been discussing this, I'm going to cut to the chase. I mean, Gurcharan has laid out a number of issues which doesn't concern the consumer at all.
Okay,
so all I'm trying to say is that, look, tomorrow you'll go after Ambani. Why are they attacking all Vodafone and Airtel when Adani is taking over with Jio? Then they've just bought over Reliance Retail and they've got their own retail. So I agree on one part. I agree with only one part on all this. I'm not for, see, the smaller airports that Adani had weren't paying off. Now, one big airport, which is Bombay, might pay off for all the small airports that he owns. He's not going to go around claiming all airports in India, which of course the policy and the rules must come in.
Rules must come in. One second. That is kind of, isn't that placing the cart before the horse? Because when the government sought bids for these smaller airports, let me just finish. I'll come to, I'm just asking a quick interjection from my side, that when they were considered eligible to run these smaller airports, at that time, they didn't have the Mumbai airport. So surely now to say that they will now try to monetize Mumbai to run the others, which they're actually seeking more time for.
No, all I'm saying is that when they got into this, when say Richard Branson got Virgin and then he found out that he couldn't make money and he sold it. Similarly, even a lot of people get into airlines and they sell it. So maybe they got in for the wrong reason and now they realize that unless they have a big airport, they're not going to be able to do it. So why are we questioning management decisions? 1 second.
No, but you're not worried about the monopoly argument at all.
No.
You're not worried about
monopoly argument. No. 1 second. Monopoly argument I am with, as long as they are playing within the rules and it's for the government to decide. Look, you would have the monopoly argument with Ambani's also. Then why haven't you got the monopoly argument with everybody else? Why are you picking on only Adani? Look, neither one of them are my friends.
We're not picking on anybody. Sunil, no one is picking on anyone. Hold on. And we are only discussing the airport Adani has come up on simply because this is just recently in the news. And therefore, I'm asking you that the monopoly question, whether it's conglomerate A or B, isn't that something that is a matter of concern for you? That's what I'm asking. It doesn't matter who it is, whether it's Adani, Ambani or anybody else.
No, it is a matter of concern for all consumers that, look, there has to be a policy on monopoly. As long as there is no policy and somebody is moved in, if GVK could pay off all the dues of all the airport, he wouldn't have sold. Now, why Adani is moving in? Because he thinks he has the money. Now, look, whether you have 1 lakh, whether you have 10,000 crores, are you paying off the interest? That's the important thing. Look, Ambani has even more than 1 lakh crores, but they've sold a few things of theirs. And
no, that's true. That part is everyone has debt on their books. It's how you service your debt. But Parvez Damania, former executive director, Kingfisher Airlines,
Vasu, I just want to make one quick point. I'm all for laying out rules for monopoly. But if there are no rules, and if at that point of time somebody has moved in, he's moved in for financial reasons.
No, that's fair enough. Fair enough. I'll come back to Gurcharan Das' shaking. I'll come back to you, Mr. Das. But Parvez Damania, you find this this is unexceptionable to you that again, the point is GVK can sell to whoever they like. I think why eyebrows were raised is because they were earlier opposing the sale to Adani, and then suddenly 1 minute later, they were selling to Adani.
Okay, now first and foremost, let me tell you one thing. I think GVK, I'm just talking you from the aviation point of view.
Yes.
I think GVK has made a fantastic airport. It's completely world class, and they did their best. Now, due to reasons between JVK and Adani, they've sold the airport to Adani. I think the Mumbai airport is completely at its seams. They're already crossing 45 million passengers. And as you're aware, Indian aviation is the fastest growing aviation market in the world. Every year, we have a growth of 16 to 18%.
Yes.
So the new Mumbai airport is absolutely imperative that it comes in record time. I think...
This is the Navi Mumbai airport you're talking about now.
Navi Mumbai airport.
Yeah, not Mumbai International Airport, which is up and running, but the Navi Mumbai airport, yes, which is also part of this deal. Yes.
Yeah, they've taken over Mial, the Mumbai International Airport, and the Navi Mumbai Airport.
Yes.
Already the Adani family has moved into the airport in Mumbai. They've started work on it. They've already visited the new Mumbai site, Navi Mumbai site. And I think it's very imperative, and I think it is also the Prime Minister's dream that the Navi Mumbai airport comes in record time.
Yes.
The Navi Mumbai airport is an investment of 16,000 crores, and GVK kept wanting more and more extension. I think once this COVID problem gets over, the entire expansion of the western part of India is stopped because Mumbai airport cannot accommodate a single more flight. Today you can't add one more flight, and it's a very risky stage we are. So I think we need a group like Adani, which will move very fast and get the new Mumbai operation in operation. I think there'll be a huge scope of expansion of aviation industry once the new Mumbai airport is open.
Okay, when that happens, all right. Gurcharan Das, you wanted to interject.
Yes, I was just saying that to me, it's not an issue of Adani or an individual.
No.
It's an issue really of how do you regulate a natural monopoly. And what I was just pointing out is that we've depended on regulators. Regulators have constantly let us down. In this case, you can do it through contracts. Contracts are, you need a new airport, new bids. So it doesn't apply in this case. What I'm saying is that government should have a policy for the future. And the other point I think is a very good point that Mr. Damania has made, that, to run a business you require a knowledge of the domain. And therefore, there are a lot of lefties who say, but we should not allow this another airport to go to the same person. But that same person will have learned so much that he will gain the experience. And so what you have to do is balance the experience that you gain with giving them enough airports. You don't want to have 100 operators. You want to have a few.
I like how you said a lot of lefties. But it's actually, it's funny you mentioned that.
I mean, the lefties don't even want a single privatized.
No. It's funny you mentioned that because, as you know, that's actually a debate that's going on with Kerala, where the Adani successfully bid for, the PPP model for the Trivandrum airport. And now the left government there is saying that that's not okay with them, and they actually want to have that cancelled, and they want to run that airport, which has brought them into confrontation with the centre, which is saying don't be sour grapes. You lost the bid fair and square, and they won it, so you need to go with that. But the question, Lloyd Matthias, is, again, I come back to the question about it's all very well you acquire it if one group is debt strapped, the other isn't. But the fact is that when it comes to, as I said, funding, raising funds at this time, economy in a downturn, Adani's themselves struggling to try and take over these earlier smaller airports they acquired. Now they have to once again raise thousands of crores for this acquisition. Is this easy? Is it realistic?
Srinivasan, I think it's the issue of how the group sees itself. To the point that Mr. Alag made, I think the 6 airports that Adani bid in Feb 2009, Ahmedabad, Guwahati, Jaipur, Lucknow, Mangalore and Thiruvananthapuram, were all profit-making airports. So in that sense, while they've yet to take over citing COVID and force majeure conditions, They were profit-making airports. Now that they've got Mumbai, obviously they've got a much larger play, both Mumbai and Navi Mumbai. In terms of the monopoly situation, I think that's something we should not worry about as of now, because the largest airport in the country is Delhi Airport, which is run by GMR. And the new Delhi Airport coming up at Jewar in UP has been awarded to Zurich Airports. So in that sense, there's a fair degree of competition, which will ensure upgrades, investment, and which will actually ensure competitive play, which in the long term is good for the consumer. As far as Adani's debt goes, the 100,000 crores and the 9,000 crores, I think it's theirs to manage. I'm sure they have the ability to repay back a lot of their interest payments, and therefore they're taking that bid onwards.
Okay. Last word. Who wants to have a go? Sunil Alag, quick.
Yeah, very quickly. Look, I mean, I'm just saying in jest, the left-handed compliment that Gurcharan paid was great. But look, I agree with Lloyd, and I agree with Damania, because look, ultimately, if Adanis can't do it, they will have to sell. They'll have to sell it to someone who can.
Right.
So if they've got the money, give it to them. Let's see where we go. I mean, to bring in all other political issues at this stage of the game is not right. According to me, they have the capacity. They've decided to buy it. GVK couldn't take care of their debt. They've sold. So it's okay. So let's watch Navi Mumbai, this and the other. It's a very big airport and very important airport. And I fully support without taking it. Whether it could be Adani, it could be X, Y, Z as far as I'm concerned. It's not a question of Adani alone, but if he can buy it, he buys it.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm love to go on, but I'm told I'm completely out of time. Anyway, it was rare to have a panel where almost everyone else agreed with the other person. So let's hope that spirit continues. Thank you all, gentlemen, so much for joining me. It's been a pleasure. That's all the time we have on Reality Check. Thanks for watching. Good night.